Hello, Dave Kells here with another episode of the Independent CPA Firm Podcast, your source to thrive in today's market. Coming to you today from the AICPA Engage Conference, poolside at a cabana. With me, I have a special guest, George Forsythe, Managing Partner of WellsColeman. Welcome, George.
Thanks. I appreciate you having me.
So we've got an audience that is very interested in hearing about independent firms. Clearly, you're an independent firm. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the firm?
So George Forsythe, Managing Partner of WellsColeman. I actually started at the firm my senior year in college, and I've grown up inside this firm, and I've done pretty much every role that there is. And so I don't want to say that the reason we're independent is because this firm has become so much a part of my life, but I do think that's part of it. So in any event, so a big part of being independent is like the people that we work with. They're our friends, they're our family.
Sure.
And so same with the clients. And so the biggest thing that we look at with regard to independence is, if we were to merge into a larger firm, we're putting all of our hopes and reliance on the future on someone else. And right now we're a little more, maybe it's ego, but we're a little bit more confident in our ability to secure our future than putting that in someone else's hands.
I hear it all the time. Control your own destiny, not give up control. You're obviously doing something right. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't, the firm wouldn't be in existence.
We're still alive. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. That's terrific.
When we look at it, it's like, people have different motivations for why they merge. Right now, those reasons that we hear from others, they're not impacting us. Like we're still able to find talent. We're still able to invest in the technology that we need and want. And frankly, we feel like we're making okay money. Like a lot of times people see this as an opportunity to really grow, partner, take home. And, there's more to life than money. Not saying that it's not important, but that's not our biggest motivator.
Right. But Richmond's a large market. You've got competitors that are capital backed now.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts? Like, how does that impact your strategy?
I think as others go upstream, I think it creates a lot of opportunity in the market. And so whether it be a traditional retirement or whether it's a merger, different businesses and individuals want to do work with people for various reasons.
Sure.
And I think that there's always going to be a need for an independent, smaller firm. We're 50 people, so we're not tiny, but we're certainly not huge. And we're able to adapt and be agile and nimble and all the things that are important to us right now.
Tell me a little bit, how has your growth trajectory been and what has fueled that? Organic, inorganic, how you doing with that?
So when I became partner at a really young age. I want to say I was 27. I'm 51 now. When I became partner, the firm was somewhere around 2 million in revenue. And right now we're going to be a little north of 10 million this year. We've not done any major acquisitions. We've taken over a very, very small peer review practice.
I saw that.
But other than that, our growth has been all organic. Been fueled a lot. Like COVID helped a lot of firms, and we had been on an advisory track, but that just really helped us spring forward so much more. And so we do look at opportunities to tuck in other firms all the time. But at the end of the day, we're like, the risk of the unknown. And it's like, for what? Being bigger doesn't necessarily mean being better or happier.
No, I totally get that. Let's talk about as part of that growth, you've had to keep pace with clients, right? So expanding services and leveraging technology, right, to be more efficient. You've done all that, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So early on, I was blessed to convince the founders of our firm that we needed a technology presence. So they sent me back to the University of Virginia, and I got a master's in information systems. And so very early on, we thought that might be a play with clients. But what it really has resulted in is our firm has been always very tech forward. We're not cutting edge, but we're not too far behind. And so we've really adopted the best technologies out there for what is a fairly modest sized firm. And so that's enabled us to really play in a much bigger pool than you would think. And
right.
so, we have a guy on our team, an engineer that has been doing like robotic process automation for the past few years. And so it's very hot now, but when we jumped into it, we were being a little bit more innovative for our size at the time.
So let's dive in on that a little bit more. Everybody wants to talk AI. You've been on the vendor floor here. Every single booth has an AI component in their signage. I'm just going to give you my take on this. I think the industry, the profession, has been a slow adopter of technology in general, a broad brush. But every technology innovation that has come along has created efficiencies, right? Has created a better way of doing things, right? Going from the paper to paperless, auto flow. Everybody talked about the cloud. Now everybody's talking about AI. I mean, yes, we have to know what AI is about. We have to utilize it the best way possible for our clients. What's your take on specific utilization of it?
Well, I mean, I agree with you. I feel like, early on people thought that, Lotus 1, 2, 3 and Excel was going to put a lot of accountants out of business. And I think it's made accountants a lot more powerful. I feel AI is going to be very similar. The difference with AI, in my opinion, is the rapid pace that it is evolving.
Right.
So these other technologies, they came to the market and they have evolved over, I think, a longer duration. And so it makes this time exciting. It also makes it a little bit scary. But I do feel that if we lean into it and we learn to leverage it, it's going to make us, like in the past, all the more valuable as a profession.
Exactly. And so here's my other take on that. I've worked at many firms. I've helped many firms. I don't know of many firms at all that have the appetite for ripping out a complete system, being audit software, tax software, to go buy the latest, greatest AI-based this. I think my take earlier on the slow adoption was the big software vendors that have been servicing the industry for years eventually embed the latest and greatest functionality into their platforms. And then firms like you that are smart hire people, developers, in-house people to kind of connect things, make the efficiency map a little bit better.
100%. And so like we've been early on after that graduate degree, one of the things that we did is we went one platform. So we've had one software platform at our firm for all tax and accounting. And that was largely fueled by just the efficiencies of how data could flow within their suite of products. You are correct now that there's very few large providers. And so while that provides a lot of opportunity, there are some challenges in that our ability to access the raw data is limited if they're cloud-based, and a lot of these providers don't offer APIs and access to the backend. That said, on our engineers' plates is use the technology and build the workaround. Exactly. And so it's a little bit clunkier than it needs to be. I do feel in time they'll open up those APIs and make it a little bit more available.
So am I hearing CCH or something like that?
Well, I mean, we've been Thomson for 20 plus years, and
they don't like you to play in their
and
data
look,
tables.
I mean, I get it. I mean, they're trying to be good stewards of their shareholders' resources. At the same time, I feel like we focus on, what's in the best interest of our clients. And I feel like that kind of takes care of us as the owners of the firm.
Right.
At times, I don't feel that the big software providers are as focused on the customer experience, our experience, as they ought to be.
Yeah, I've always found value in the user groups. What are my peers doing with the same products on the
Absolutely.
I've got a lot of value out of that. Great. Thanks. I saw that you had a tech focus to your blurb on the website, so I couldn't wait to talk to you about that because that's the topic everybody's talking about.
Yeah, it's served our firm well, but it's good. And honestly, like there's so many options right now. I think last night I went to the thought leader reception and they were talking about how actually scratch that. It was today. It was Randy Johnstone in the tech update said there's 20 AI tax softwares. There's 20 AI assurance softwares, and there's over 70 bookkeeping softwares on the market right now. So there's over 100 new AI platforms out there. It's just a matter of time as to which ones remain standalone, which ones become embedded into either Thomson, CCH, or other.
As I say, you can't go with a brand new startup company that may not be there.
Well, I wouldn't bet the farm on it. That's
exactly. Yeah, too much at stake. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about culturally why is the firm the provider of choice and the employer of choice in your
Yeah,
market.
so it's funny, over the past 10 or 15 years, we've done this best place to work survey in our marketplace, and our firm has done quite well in receiving that designation. And really all it does is kind of confirm that like we're a little different. And so the founders of our firm, Wells and Coleman, they're these, two buddies that would hunt and fish all morning, and then they'd have a after hunt and fish cocktail, and then they'd come to the office and do a few tax returns. And so their clients were their friends and their buddies and their families. And so while that's not how we operate our firm these days, a lot of that energy is what's behind us. And that is like our culture, when we talk about it, is work hard, play hard. So when you're at the office, bring your best effort. And when you're not at the office, bring that your best effort and truly enjoy it. Life is short. And so, we feel that people will leave an employer where they love the work if they dislike the people, and they'll stay at an employer where they hate the work if they love the people. And so we do our absolute best to be great to work with and to really lift our people up. And it happens to be that they get maybe a little bit of both, good work and good people.
Yeah. And so where are you on the spectrum of in the office versus fully remote?
Yes, we're hybrid. And so we've learned that we don't do everything well. I'm not surprised. We do not onboard new employees remotely well. So we ask that everyone, they start in the office, and then once they've kind of understood and learned the culture, the processes, the ways, then being remote 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, it's typically not an issue. It really comes down to like, where do you want to work from? If you want to work from home, great. If you want to work from the office, fine. And like we work that out. It's more to us. It's about communication and accountability. That doesn't change because of where you're doing the work.
Absolutely. And I always fall back on the word profession, right? This is a profession. You hire professionals to do a professional job, treat them professionally. They treat the firm professionally. Doesn't matter where you work.
Same at our shop.
Managers have had to kind of learn a little bit more about how to manage in a remote world. That's no different than, for any firm. But that's a learning curve, which I don't think is insurmountable. So glad to hear that. I mean, it started years ago, in my experience, with predominantly female workforce having children. And there was this reluctance to bring them back on a part-time basis. And I said, you're allowing 50% of the workforce, 50% of the talent, to give them a roadblock to a career path that just doesn't suit the 9 to 5 in the office. So I always scratch my head at that.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. So it was actually one of our strategies in our Richmond market. There used to be a business. They're no longer around, but it's so aptly named. It was called Momentum, for momentum. And they were basically, women that left the workforce just for temporarily. To raise some children, and then they wanted to come back, and typically they didn't want to come back full time. And so if you look at our profession, it's like, if the kids are in school, the winters and tax seasons were a great opportunity. And then when is work slow? In the summer? Well, when are the kids out of school? In the summer? And so like we did really, really well there. And in fact, we acquired some great talent and advanced not a lot, but a handful all the way to partner. And that started on a fractional basis. But when they no longer needed to be fractional, we were there, open arms, saying, "How hard do you want to go now? Let's go."
And in these sessions here at AICPA, even BDO, there's talk of why is there still a lack of accounting majors coming out of college? All these reasons. You can talk about the 150 credits, whatever you want to talk about. But I've heard a couple leaders talk about, got to make the industry more sexy. You've got to make it more enticing for people to come. You've got to get rid of the fraternity mentality that said, I put in 150 hours during a week during busy season. You have to too. That's got to go.
Yeah, I think honestly, it really comes down to just expectations. And so the way that we're building our team right now is more like, you tell us what you can give, and it's almost like, think of it like a conductor of trains, like when they're coming and going, and we're managing the work coming in and the people available to do the work and push it back out. It's certainly like capacity planning is a little bit more complicated. Scheduling is a little bit more complicated. But what's the alternative? Like, I got to get the work done. You got to get the work done. And so we've been more open-minded and a little bit creative. Our newest attempt. So I kept trying to get a friend to come work at our firm, and she would help out during tax seasons. And finally she said, okay, I'm willing to come work on your ops team on one condition. I was like, what's your condition? She said that I can job share with my best friend. And I said, so I'm going to get two smart people to do one job? Like,
Right.
wait, you don't have to sell me on that. Let's go.
Where's the problem?
So they've been working. This has only been going on for a little over a month now, but I'm like, just the creativity and the willingness to give it a go. We'll figure out all the mechanics.
Right. And so along those lines, have you tapped into offshore resources?
Yeah, we've been offshoring. So we had one partner early on when we were first learning offshoring. And, I think what we're naive to think is like, just because someone knows taxes and softwares that they're going to be able to just quickly learn our processes. And so we moved on to a second provider where their natural flow and our expectations aligned. And it's been an immense success. And so very excited about that. I will tell you, I am also, though, a little bit nervous about how AI may impact our offshore partners, because I feel like a lot of what the AI is promising is a lot of how your lower level needs on offshore, they compete a little bit.
I hear it. I think somewhere in the middle, there's a balance of the two. That's just kind of my initial take.
We're not going to go left or right. We're going to try to go left and right.
Way back when offshoring started, people would say, oh, you're shipping U.S. jobs overseas. And it was really far from that. It was really to protect the U.S. staff from burnout. Tell them you care. We don't want you working 1 million hours a week.
Same for us.
Yeah. So it was a recruiting and retention tool for sure. One of the last things I want to talk about, you mentioned it before, a small peer review practice. Does that give you insight into some other independent firms and how things are looking and how you compare yourself to others?
So in our firm, there's this old saying that you're never going to do it well until you're forced to review others' work. And so what the peer review did is it allowed us to see how other shops operate, and it really helped us tighten up our processes internally. Now, that's not to say that everyone we peer review does it better than us, but we've learned a lot along the way and built some very good relationships with other CPA firm leaders. Yeah, it's been amazing.
That's great. I mean, I think we're all, to a large degree, friendly competitors.
Absolutely. There's more than enough work to go around.
Exactly. So, as we wrap up, any plans and future plans that you want to share? I mean, what are you looking at on the horizon?
So like our firm vision, it's not really tied to a number. It's just continued growth, because the growth will fuel opportunity for our people and our clients. We don't have anything major on the horizon, no major acquisitions. We're not selling the firm. We're just going to keep marching forward. I will say, I have two sons. One just graduated 2 weeks ago from the University of Georgia with an accounting degree. And the youngest is 2 years behind him at the University of Georgia, majoring in accounting. So, our family took the whole pipeline seriously, that we went and we birthed some young accountants. And so part of my future plan is to invest in these.
That's amazing.
See how they come along.
That's refreshing, because I don't know if you've been in a couple sessions here where, some firm leaders get up and say, and it goes back to my point before, I don't want my kids going into this profession. Sure. Are you kidding me? This is a great profession.
I agree. I feel like if there's a pressure at all, I want to leave them something much better than I inherited, and I want them to pay it forward.
That's great. Well, thanks for that. Really nice talking to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, sir.
Really great to have you. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Independent CPA Firm Podcast. If you found today's episode meaningful, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.